Teacher burnout is real, and it can happen at the micro level where it's just been a rough couple of days, and it can happen at the macro level where you've been teaching for several years and you're just feeling like you're done. If you are constantly feeling like you're running on empty because of lesson planning, grading papers, and juggling everything, let me assure you that you are not alone. And I'm going to give you 6 tips today to help prevent teacher burnout. First, let's talk about what teacher burnout actually is. So if you're feeling mentally, emotionally, or physically exhausted, you could be experiencing teacher burnout. You may feel drained, you may wake up tired, you may dread going to work. That enthusiasm and creativity that you used to have at the beginning of the year might be gone. You may also have physical symptoms such as fatigue, loss of interest in doing things, and even frequent illness. And teacher burnout happens because we have such a high demand, not for ourselves, but we have a classroom full of kids that are demanding of our time, our attention, and our decision making. Combine that with a lack of support, either in the classroom or at home, and difficulty balancing your personal and professional life, you could be experiencing teacher burnout. My name is John Van Dusen. I'm a teacher, coach, and instructor for the Army Reserve Command and General Staff College. I want to thank you for stopping by for your classroom coffee break. Setting boundaries, sleep and nutrition, having a support network, and hobbies are the 4 items we're going to talk about today for actual strategies to help you with teacher burnout. Let's talk about setting boundaries. All of us have one of these sitting in our pocket, but just because we can get those school emails on our phone doesn't mean we need to look at them as soon as they pop up. One way to set a boundary is to go into your email settings and turn off notifications so that you do not get pinged on your phone when those emails come in. You can go in and check the email if you need to because something important is happening, whether it's a snow day, professional development day, or something unique. But once you get home, you can turn off those notifications so you are at home instead of at work while sitting at home. Another way of setting a boundary is keeping work at work and keeping home at home. I know a ton of teachers that bring papers home to grade. And if that's something that you find yourself doing, I've got another video for you to watch about how to maximize your prep time. But if at all possible, if you can find a way to get your work done at work, whether that's before school, during your prep time, during your lunch, or perhaps staying after school for a few minutes, if any of those options are available to you and it prevents you from taking work from your desk to your kitchen table so that you can be where your boots are. Another self-care tip is going to be getting enough sleep and proper nutrition. We have all been guilty of staying up too late watching the latest Netflix special or doom scrolling on our phone. But one of the best things you can do for your mental health is to get enough sleep. The second part of that equation is getting good nutrition, getting good food in your body, fueling yourself with good, clean food instead of greasy, fatty, fast food is always going to make you feel better. In the past, my wife and I have subscribed to food delivery services such as Green Chef or Purple Carrot. So it's very easy to cook at home in the evening and have good quality food instead of just throwing a frozen pizza in. Another way to help with proper nutrition is to use the weekend as a meal prep time and make those meals ahead of time so that at lunch you're not grabbing a candy bar or getting in line with the kids to get a school lunch. You have good, healthy food to fuel your body and get you through the rest of the day. And the last point I'll make about nutrition is get enough water. I know that's a delicate balance for teachers between water intake and the ability to use the bathroom, but trust me, you will feel better if you start your day with a big glass of water, if you have a big glass of water with lunch, and if you choose water over that extra cup of coffee, totally guilty of that, or that soda pop. The third tip I have for you to prevent burnout is to have that support network. Now, I am blessed here at Kingsford. I have an amazing 8th grade teaching team. We have a great group message that goes around, and we are able to talk about issues we're having at school, talk about successes we're having at school, but also bring our personal life in and talk about great things that are happening with our families. I'm also going to make the argument that you need to have a support network outside of the school building. And maybe that's an exercise class you go to. Maybe that's a club that plays cards on Wednesday nights, something you do that's not with the same people you spend all day with. but having that support network is vital for you to take care of yourself. Last, but certainly not least, is make time for hobbies. Maybe it's something you do by yourself. Maybe it's something you do with your family. Maybe it's something you do with that social network that you have outside of the school building. I have another video where I talk about teacher burnout, and I talk about when you do something where you don't have to make decisions. Because as teachers, we are making hundreds of decisions an hour. So if we can go somewhere and do something fun that we enjoy where we don't have to make any decisions, that's an added bonus for our mental health. And just a tip to make sure that you are making time for your hobbies, put them on your calendar exactly like you would an IEP meeting or a staff meeting, to make sure that it's scheduled and you have time blocked off for that fun hobby instead of getting caught up in something else and just throwing it by the wayside. Sometimes you need to put yourself first. So now that you've put those couple tips in place, how do you sustain it? You see this all the time at the beginning of the year with New Year's resolutions, where somebody will say they're going to work out every single day, and they do very well for the first week, maybe even 2 weeks. But after the first month, most people stop doing it, whatever it was they said they were going to do. A couple ways to prevent that is, first off, whatever it is you're going to do, whether that's setting those boundaries or prioritizing sleep and nutrition, find somebody else that will do it with you so that you have some accountability. That accountability can be in person when you see each other in the hallway, or it can be a simple text every day. Hey, I did my devotional today, did you? Just so that you have somebody else going through that journey with you. Another way we already mentioned is put it on the calendar, whatever it is that you're going to do. Make sure that you schedule it just like you would schedule something that you do for work. Make sure you schedule that time for yourself. And if you're still struggling to find that time, I would ask you to just keep track for one day how you spend your time and see where you can steal back some of that time for yourself, whether that's doom scrolling Instagram. Maybe you can use your commuting time to listen to a book on tape. I guess that's kind of old school, hey? Book on tape? They don't put them on tapes anymore. Actually, I don't even think they put them on CDs anymore. Well, most people listen to podcasts anyway. And lastly, I'd say take part in those SEL activities that you're doing with your students to help them with emotional regulation. You can do the same thing to help you with your emotional regulation. I want to go through a few myths that teachers have about themselves. And the first one is, if I work harder, I'll feel better about myself. That is just flat out not true. Rest and recovery increase productivity. My favorite examples of this is a story of two lumberjacks. They both go into the woods at 7 each morning and they cut wood all day. However, one of the lumberjacks stays on the job site, eats his lunch, and then goes back to work, where the other lumberjack actually goes home, eats lunch, comes back to work. So the lumberjack that stays on the job site actually gets 30 more minutes of wood cutting a day, but the lumberjack that goes home always cuts more wood. The lumberjack that stays says, I don't get it. I barely take enough time to eat my sandwich and then I'm right back to working, yet you outwork me every day. And the lumberjack that goes home every day says, oh, well, when I go home, I actually take 15 minutes to sharpen my axe. That's just another way of saying you cannot pour from an empty cup. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to take care of your family or your students. That leads me into my last myth, which is self-care is selfish. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you're in this profession, you are giving of yourself all day, every day. And students have a way of just taking and taking and taking. With that in mind, if you're not giving to yourself, there's no possible way you can continue to give to your students. So these self-care tips of setting boundaries, getting enough sleep and the proper nutrition, having a support network inside and outside of the school building, and making time for hobbies, hopefully that'll help prevent you from having teacher burnout. If you check the comments down below, I have other videos on this topic. I want to say thank you for stopping by for your classroom coffee break.